listeners, Chris here with a quick update. We have officially launched our Patreon. We are hoping that we can start generating a little money with the show that will help us provide a more regular service. We really would like to start moving toward having 2 episodes released on our main feed every month. We wanted to get more active on our social media, and having some Patreons to help support us is going to be a big difference in that. We want to get editors that we actually pay rather than just having TJ's husband and myself doing all of the editing, and that's going to make a huge difference. So what do you get? Please check out our Patreon, Gotham Outsiders on Patreon. If you join with $5 a month, you will get access to special bonus episodes. Mark Perez and I are recording episodes as we review the show Gotham, 3 episodes at a time. We'll also have other special things like special returning guests that come on for maybe a fun episode, all games all the time episodes, and maybe even some special longer editions of Gotham Academy. So please check out our Patreon, and if you can support us, it would make a huge difference as we try to go to this new step in Gotham Outsiders' life. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you on the socials. Hello, and welcome to the Gotham Outsiders, a very special episode. I am your host, Bad Obsessive Chris, and with me is my 2 co-hosts, TJ and Mark.
Woo, woo, woo.
Hello.
Hello,
Yes.
everyone. I am the Nightwing of this podcast as of very recently. Mark, did we determine, are you the Robin then?
I'm the Batmite, remember?
Yeah, the Batmite. That's right. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I forgot.
The Batmite of our podcast and our newest acolyte. But we have a very special all-star guest. I feel like you are definitely in the ranks of like the 5-timer club at this point, for sure. Definitely more than that. We have Jadzia Axelrod.
Hello. So happy to be back.
We've missed you.
What does that make you to this podcast? Who are you in our little universe?
Oh, geez. I don't know.
I kind of think of you as our oracle.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't do any organizing for you.
That's okay.
So-
Like Batwoman. That was the first story we
Batwoman.
covered
That's
together.
true.
I
but
do like that the Bat Femmes don't ask permission to do things. They just do it.
That's true.
So it's like
I feel like
off
you are
to the side.
so much more of a healthy person than Batwoman.
Maybe Zatanna then? I can be the Zatanna of your
Ooh,
podcast.
yes. Oh, that's very sexy of you. I love it.
I look great in fishnets. It's perfect.
I believe that. Believe that. That's why you're wearing them right now, right?
Right now.
Oh yeah,
And the top
hidden
hat
underneath
and
that
everything.
hoodie.
Yeah,
They're
you pull
hidden.
off the hoodie and it's just a Zatanna costume.
Exactly.
It's what I wear under all my clothes at all
I
times.
knew it. I knew
Just in case.
Just in case. You gotta be ready.
Just gotta say hoodie backwards and a costume
It just
comes
comes off.
Yeah. There you go. Well, I'm excited to have all 4 of us here because
Yeah.
Mark is our newest co-host, and I'm so excited to have 2 others of my favorite people in the same little
Aw.
virtual room.
Yeah, it's like it's an initiation. You've got to talk to Jadzia. She initiates
Right.
all of our new people.
And you are the
Oh,
first new person. We're making this a rule now.
I know, it's a rule now, as of right this moment.
This is
Oh
our
my
like
God.
hazing. How are we gonna haze Mark?
Mhm.
Oh, good.
We're gonna make it as the first question is how we're hazing him.
Oh, that's
Apparently,
lovely.
There you go. That was a great
That's
transition.
lovely.
No pressure.
Take it away, Mark, whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay. We're going to start. Here we go. All right.
I'm a very easy
So-
person to ask a
so
question
that's
to.
the
I've got
answer.
so many answers.
Let's
Mhm.
get started. All right. Well, compare the experiences of writing a DC graphic novel to a monthly series. What was that like going from one to another?
Oh, it was wildly different. Format wise, it was wildly different just because like in a graphic novel, you can like take some space and like have your characters sit around and shoot the shit. And it's like, as long as it's not just 3 pages of the same panel over and over again, you can take that space and really like delve into characters and motivations and have some fun with it. And in a monthly comic, like that's 20 pages to tell one story 6 times. And it's just not a lot of space. And like, I should have done the math. I did not do the math. I should have done the math. in the sense that 6 issues of 20 pages is 120 pages total. That is 60 pages less than Galaxy the
Oh,
Prettiest
wow.
Star. And I was trying to do a lot of story in those 120 pages. Now, I feel like I did it,
Yes,
but
you did.
the result is a fairly like speedy comic where we go through things very quickly. And I don't think that's bad, especially for a superhero comic where you
Yeah.
want your characters to constantly be in motion and constantly be moving, and there constantly be new plot elements and new character elements and all this stuff coming through. But it was just so different structurally because of that. And it was definitely something where there was a learning curve. I think I finally found my feet really in issue 3. I feel like it feels different than issues 1 and 2, where I am trying to like fit everything I want to in, and then in issue 3 I cracked it and like, this is how you fit everything in. So 3, 4, 5, and 6 are like great, and like I'm not saying issues 1 and 2 are not good, but there's like some sweaty moments where I'm just trying to make sure everything fits together.
I would say, Jadzia, you did an amazing job making it feel like there was space in that comic, because there were slow
thanks.
moments, there were thoughtful moments. So I didn't feel like it. I read them, well, I read them month to month, but then I read them, binged them together. And as a binge, it doesn't feel sweaty or speedy. It feels like
good.
very luxurious in a good way.
Oh, wonder, that's so good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the things I wanted to do is, because as a fan, I sometimes get frustrated picking up a single issue and there's not enough story. Like, and I was like, okay, this is my chance to right the wrongs that I feel have been done.
Yes.
And do it right, which is that there is a story here in these 20 pages that you can pick up and read and be somewhat satisfied by, and also hunger for the next issue. Like that doesn't seem like too big a responsibility. I can do that. And like that did make things harder for me. Like I could have had a very easy route and just done a 120-page graphic novel and just cut it up into 6 pieces and not worry about each chapter like having a specific feeling. But I wanted to do that. Like I wanted to. This was my first time writing superhero floppies, like honest to gosh superhero floppies with variant covers and like people in spandex righting wrongs, and I got a Batman guest star. And all of the stuff that I've always wanted, right? And I was like, well, then let me do all the things that I've always wanted. And so one of the things I wanted to do with this was to have each issue have a different feel. And so you have a very superhero romp feel to issue 1. And then issue 2 was a little more quiet, a little more character motivated. In issue 3, we went to Gotham, because why not go to Gotham?
Always go to Gotham.
Always go to Gotham if you can. And that's where all the big emotions come out, because it is Gotham, right? And so
as they do.
As they do. It's because Gotham is where opera happens, right? So like you
Yes.
can't help with that. And it's like we need some emotional catharsis, and like it's got to be in Gotham where that happens. So we did that. We had a Batman story in Gotham, and then in issue 4, I had to fight a dragon. I love giant monsters. So it's like, we got to get a giant monster in here. And our heroine is someone who hits things really hard with a medieval weapon. It has to be a dragon.
So true.
And we had that. And then number 5 was all the flashbacks to all the stuff in Hawkgirl's history that like I'd always wanted to see, but we never did. It was referenced. So had to do all that stuff. And then number 6 was probably like the most me issue, where we play in the 9th world and what that is and what that means. And so in addition to writing a large story that's still smaller than Galaxy the Prettiest Star, but it was also like 6 very different stories as far as tone and what I wanted to get across and what I wanted to do, at the same time bringing Hawkgirl into this new space, which is what I was asked to do. On top of like everything I wanted to do, DC did give me a brief, which was like, let's have this be a platform for future Kendra stories. And so there was a lot going on in that. And all of that was self-inflicted, because again, I just wanted to do everything that I've always wanted to do with superheroes, and I got to, which was delightful.
It's funny, I never thought about that, like very much like when you're putting a movie together, you record all these things, and then there's the paring down of it once you get to start editing everything and you make it more concise, right? But you're right though, it's great though, and I'm sure you were happy when there were moments when the panels allowed the character to breathe, whatever it may be that's going on in a particular panel where no writing is involved, right? So
yeah, I'm very
overall,
fortunate to have a man-K on Hawkgirl, because like he did amazing work, and like
Yes.
I cut a lot of dialogue just because it wasn't necessary with the expressions that he brought to the characters through body language, through the face, through just situating them in a panel. There's a great panel in issue 4 where Galaxy and Hawkgirl fly off to go fight the dragon, and that leaves their friends Kat and Aveline and Argus on the ground watching them go. And originally there was this back and forth between the three of them about like how this feels.
Yeah.
And it's like, and when I saw the panel, I was like, I don't need to write any of that. You see how it feels. They look like it's all there in the way the panel is.
Yeah.
So it was just, I cut it down to just the stinger, which was Argus saying, I don't care for this feeling at all.
Yeah. It must
And
feel...
like, yeah, so there was a bunch of
sorry,
stuff like that where it was like, I don't need these lines because a man-K has done the work for me. And like, to give myself some credit, like I wrote them and then man-K was able to like take them and do that great stuff. But then it becomes like clear that a man-K told what I needed to tell and I don't have to be redundant.
Awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah, he's an amazing artist.
One last thing, I bet it must feel incredible to just say that about Galaxy and Hawkgirl flying off the fighting dragon.
Yes, to have her be like playing with the big kids. Oh, yeah, it was a dream. It was a dream.
Fantastic.
Your daughter's all grown up. I love it.
I know. That was the
So
weirdest
cute.
thing too, right? To have her
love
be because like when I'd written Galaxy the Prettiest Star, like I honestly thought like this is it. This is the only story I'll ever tell with this character. It was a wonderful, beautiful book. But like there's no way it's going to be wildly popular enough that this character will have any sort of legacy beyond this one book. That was nice. And for her to been so embraced by fans immediately and to sell out of multiple printings and then to have this like fan response and then to because of that be able to put her in Hawkgirl. Like the way the story I had written was plotted, I had like a galaxy-shaped hole. Like I needed a character who had a different personality than Kendra.
Yeah.
And it had energy powers, right? And like there's a lot of characters that fit that. And I had a list if they said no to Galaxy, but they said yes. So
I love it.
We got Galaxy in there. There was a decision to age her up so that she didn't have like a teen hero, adult hero dynamic, that it was more about meeting of equals, which I loved. I love that idea. So we got to age her up. We gave her a proper superhero suit. And it was just an amazing feeling. Yeah, it was incredible. And I love the way man-K drew her and like bring Vash's design, which is very Vash, right? Like that's they designed a character perfectly within their style. And to have a man-K take that design and then put it in his style, which is more of a superhero style, but not lose anything. And so it was clearly like this character moving forward. It's just amazing. I love that.
Awesome.
I was laughing when you were saying issue 6 was the most like, or you, and that's because that was the issue where I was like, I have no idea what's happening, but I do love this. I am overwhelmed, but I love this.
That's,
and like
yeah.
that was me. That was me being like, oh, this is very like high fantasy, and that's something I don't venture into often.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that makes sense. That's how I feel about Jadzia.
Alice was in Wonderland.
I love high fantasy, so it worked for me greatly.
Yeah, well, I think that's the Jadzia Axelrod effect, which is you don't know what's going on, but you love it, and like
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's so funny to hear people talk about that issue and be like, I had no idea what was going on, and then other people saying this is the first issue that's made sense out of all six. So
Like,
That's
I need to
hit
do a
it just
reread.
right.
yeah, I
Just
feel like I
right.
hit a sweet spot.
No, once I hit the lore, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? That's me
TJ
though.
hates lore. This is just a TJ thing.
Wow.
He's not a lore forward human. I am, however. I love a lore.
So, I realized I did send you these questions ahead of time. So, my question for you right now is, what's your favorite panel in this graphic novel? Or sorry, these issues. Don't think about it, just blurt your answer.
Right. Well, one is a cheat because it's the panel in issue 3 where Hawkgirl figures out that the way to deal with Talons who are attacking her is to just fly really fast and they'll knock out. And it's so beautifully illustrated, and like all the panels kind of merge together. Like there's not really panel breaks, so it's just one page of this sequence, and it's beautiful. And that's my cheat, because it's such an inventive way to get the feeling of movement and speed that Amanke did. And it's also just a wonderful moment for Kendra herself, who in previous appearances is always kind of limiting herself and like being supportive and like not being like her full self for reasons that are plot related. And like to have her just cut loose finally was really great. And like to build up to that for 2 issues and then have her do it was just felt really good.
Yes.
And for Amanke to pick up on that and like make it just a really triumphant, beautiful moment in one page is incredible. So that's my cheat. That's multiple panels though, even though they don't have particular panel borders.
That's fair. And that's my
My-
favorite issue. I'm sure you're not shocked to
I'm
hear
not
that.
shocked. Actual panel, if we have to pick like a definite panel, has got to be the one from issue 2 with Galaxy looking nervous and saying, "Fine, see, fine."
Aw.
I love that expression on her. I feel like it brings the character so perfectly. It's one of my favorite images of her.
Yay.
Aw.
Well, I promised you that you've done so many interviews about this that this would not be a traditional interview. So I promised you unhinged questions, and we're about to go
please.
into one
Let's
right
have
now.
it. We have it. We have a safe space here. You could be an inch.
They're gonna say
Thank
safe
you.
word.
Here we also have a safe word. Just say pineapple and we'll get you out. No, I'm kidding. But but truly, Jadzia, I'm sure we're all wondering, how did you get into the mind of a straight person?
I mean, it was tough.
I'm sure. It was very brave of you, to be
Thank
totally
you.
honest.
Thank you.
That was the real adventure.
Well, the way I got into the mind of a straight person was to go through another window rather than the front door, which is to go to
You're really
look
gonna
at
just say that out loud in front
I
of me?
am. Was to look at Kendra through the lens of her depression, which is something that is not focused on as much as I would have liked to, as someone who suffers from depression.
Yeah.
So that was definitely something I wanted to focus on. And it was to kind of present this character who is extremely high functioning. She's a superhero. She saves the world. Like I definitely did not want to, in writing this, like make her anything less than an amazing superhero, because that's who she is. But like that means that when she's not a superhero, she doesn't have anything to keep that depression at bay. Like she can push it aside when things need to be done. And that's her coping mechanism. And as a result, that's all her life. Because the moment that she stops fighting to save the world, she doesn't have anything. And like, so I found my way into the head of a straight person by thinking about how she's a depressed person instead.
Depression is very gay. I mean, we have to find ways to relate to straight people somehow.
And, you know,
What are the accessories we come with?
All the,
gay of them.
all of the queer girlies are on Lexapro. Let's go.
And it was interesting because it's a character who has been defined a lot by her relationships with men. And one thing the editor said when we were talking about this was like, let's have one story where she does not have a romantic relationship for once.
Yeah.
Like, can we have one story where she is just herself and
Mhm.
finding herself and not having to have a male counterpart be
Mhm.
something that creates drama or even comfort. Like can we just have her? And I was like, I love that. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another way to get into the head of a straight person was to not think of them as the
Right.
straight person.
You're like, I can write a straight person as long as they don't shove the straightness down my throat.
Right, exactly.
You said, but can we give her the most lesbian haircut you've ever seen?
Right.
That's
Oh,
she's
Other
always
way in.
had.
The
That's what
other
she's
way in.
always had. This is this is what
hot.
happens when you have a character created in 1999 and never update her hair. Is she's
Mhm.
got like the pixie cut that all the girls
Right.
had back then,
Yeah.
and then never changed it.
Love
And
that.
yeah,
In my mind, that's the only reason why you said you would write this is, all right, she's
you looked at that
textually
hair.
straight, but visually gay.
Visually gay is very funny.
well, I've always been a fan of her. Like that's so when it was
Yeah.
offered, I like couldn't say no.
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
Right.
Because I've been a huge fan of Kendra since like not quite her inception, but close to it.
Mhm.
Because I when I started reading JSA in the early 2000s when it was like coming out as pamphlets. Like she was my favorite. So like, and I've followed her off and on since then. And so when they were like, here, you can play with her, and I was like, yes, I would love to. Let
I
me
love
right
that.
all the wrongs and bring her back into her glory.
Aw, we love to see it.
Yeah.
Take it
All
away.
right.
It's your turn. Come on, you got to be snappier on this.
Come on, come
I
on.
know you're new, but let's go.
Coffee hasn't kicked in quite yet,
Ooh,
so
for real.
all right.
Yeah, we made Mark wake up so early compared to us.
All right. Well, tell us the story behind the term Planet X and how it eventually worked its way into the comic.
Oh, sure. Planet X has been my internet handle for a long time. And the reason it's my internet handle is because it used to be my circus performer name when I was a circus performer.
Oh,
So
wow.
What?
way back when I was a circus performer, I used to perform under the title, and this is weird now, but I'll say it anyway, The Man from Planet X. So this was obviously pre-transition. And yeah, so that was when that was with the Industrial Strength Freak Show, which was the first one that I was a part of, and that was the one I ran. And I would come out and do my various sideshow stunts. Did escape art. I did the human pincushion. I was electrocuted by we had a lightning generator, a Tesla coil,
That's
and
amazing.
did that.
I can't believe we've never talked about this. This is so wild.
Yeah, this is
So
some deep
that's what happened
Jadzia
to
lore
you.
here.
That's why you're like this.
Yeah,
It's the
essentially.
electrocution just did it.
I mean, I've always been like this, even before.
I was gonna say, or did you do that because you were like
Yeah,
this?
yeah. You got the causation reversed.
Yeah. How
Mhm.
very Dick Grayson of you to have a circus past.
Right?
Ooh.
Yeah, I even trained to do the trapeze and I couldn't do it. So it was not something that I could do. So I never performed at that, but I did
Yeah.
try.
Mhm.
And it was
Yeah.
just not something that I could do. But yeah, I used to be a circus performer. I used to be the Man from Planet X. That was my stage name. We would open the show with a big spiel about how it wasn't a magic show. Everything was real. And I would prove that by having someone come up on stage, and I had a deck of cards, and I was like, pick a card, memorize it, put it back in the deck. And they would do that, and then I would shuffle the deck, and I would take the card and staple it to my forehead. And then say, is that your card? And they would say, no, it isn't, because it never was. And I was like, right, it's not a magic show. And then I would take the card off, and there'd be two little blood dots
Oh my
from
god.
the carpenter staple that I put in there.
How very cult of pain of you.
Right.
I love that if someone were to listen to this episode with no context, like the point of this story was not like, oh yes, I'm a trans person. It's I worked in the circus.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love that.
I used to be, yeah. And so I performed with 3 different circuses, but the first one was the one I used the title, The Man from Planet X.
I
And
love
so
that.
that was my online handle, was just Planet X for the longest time.
That's so fun.
And then when I was trying to think of like what would be a good name for a gay club in Metropolis, And I was like, oh, obviously, Planet X. Like that, especially since it's like in the Alien District, right? It's an
Yeah.
A-town. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
calling it anything other than Planet X seemed wrong.
Agreed.
So
That's so cool.
yeah,
I love
it's
that. I
it
love
is
is
that.
the
really
first canonical gay club in Metropolis.
We love to see it.
There's a bunch of gay clubs and gay bars in Gotham that
Mhm.
have
Yeah.
been shown on panel, but none in the Superman comics. This is the first. So this is the
I love it.
presumably there are other gay bars in Metropolis, but we've
Mhm.
never been to them. So this is the
Mhm.
first canonical one.
I hope there's a
Should've
little
made it a
cart out
circus.
front that serves Metropolis dogs.
Yeah.
I think so.
You gotta eat a Metropolis dog once you're drunk. It's like
Gotta
even
eat
better.
a Metropolis dog once you're drunk. It's perfect junk food.
So, do you have a set in stone history for Galaxy in your mind, set between the original graphic novel and where this series picks up in the present day
yeah.
DC universe?
Yeah, I had to work it all out for myself before writing Hawkgirl because I'm like, what has happened to her since then? Because again, did not think there was going to be more stories. So I
Mhm.
did not have any thoughts for where she was going to go after The Prettiest Star. But yeah, I had a whole history worked out, like what happens next, what happens a little further on, what happens to her in college, all of this stuff that I kind of had figured out for myself so that I could be able to write where she is now. And like, because she is a different person in Hawkgirl than she is in Galaxy of the Pretty Star.
Yeah.
She's more confident in some ways, and in other ways, she's still the same goofball. So to weigh that, I had to think about like, well, what has changed? What has happened to her? And
Yeah.
she's much more confident in her powers. She's much more comfortable with her abilities. She still is kind of uncomfortable with her place in things, and like, why that is so, and why that is true is things I had to work out, and I have, and I'm not going to talk about them. You'll notice I'm dancing around them because like I do want to tell stories with these characters
Right.
in that window.
Yeah.
So like I'm going to keep them to myself for now.
That's a to be continued.
Yeah.
Like, tell me now.
I'll tell you off camera.
Okay.
Let's get talk about sartorial stylings now for a minute. Talk about
Sure.
Galaxy's costume. It is so hot, so sexy. Our girl all grown up. Say everything. What? How
Mhm.
did you get
Oh,
there?
yeah. Well, that's all a man K. Like I sent him a bunch of like 60s style space girls. And I was like, want it in this
Yeah.
I don't know the color scheme, but I'd like there to be pink involved. Just, do what you want. And so he did, and he did great. And it was like, this is perfect. Originally, there was like an attempt to like work the lesbian flag colors in there, but that was too much. And
Mhm.
so he brought it down to just the pink and the silver. And I don't know if this was his plan or if it just was a happy accident, but because of the way the stripes work on her costume and the way her hair is teal behind her, she looks like the trans flag. But without like being the trans flag in the same way Captain America is the American
Mhm.
flag. And so like that was wonderful. And I love
Yeah.
that so much that
Yes.
just kind of happened. But yeah, the outfit is great. It works again, all in MK, and it works as like this like 60s space girl reference. And there's an
Mhm.
anime element to that as well.
Yeah.
I love like the little garter strap around the thigh.
Yes.
And like all of this, like it's cute, but it's also sexy, but it's also powerful looking. Like it's all the things. She looks like a girl from space, and I love it.
Yeah.
I really want to see someone
Yes.
cosplay it. I really,
I'm
really
you
do.
Sure,
know
we
it's
will.
gonna happen.
Listener
I
that wrote
hope
the
so.
fanfic, get on that cosplay.
It gives a little Gwenpool to me, just color scheme, but honestly, I like this one better, to be honest.
I mean, Gwenpool is pink and white, and this is pink and silver, so that's different.
Yeah. It's totally
My
different.
mistake. I apologize.
Yeah, thank you.
To all the
Thank you for
silver
admitting that.
lovers out there.
Yeah, it's bold of you to admit your mistake when you did, so thank you. TJ.
So, okay, I'm ready.
Mhm. Yeah.
Clear this up once and for all.
Sure.
How gay is Kendra? Very
Ken-
slightly or the biggest gay ever?
Kendra is straight.
What?
And
I
I'll
don't
tell you
believe you.
why. She's straight
the
because I
point.
asked DC Comics and they told me she was straight. And like they own her and they
Yeah.
get to decide that. And like there's concerns beyond the individual story that I'm telling
Mhm.
that are reasons for them to have her. Like she's a merchandising character and they have their own needs for who gets to be gay and who gets to be straight. I think DCK has been really good about allowing new queer characters into the fold.
Yeah.
But as far as queering older characters, like we got Tim, and I'm not sure we're gonna get any more. So
We got Tim Drake
yeah, we got
and
Tim.
That's
Yeah.
what she
That's
just
great.
said.
Connor.
Yeah.
Connor
And
Hawk.
Connor
Oh,
Hawk,
you
he's
said
an older
Tim.
character.
I'm sorry. For some, I heard Tim and my mind went to Green Lantern. I forgot his name is Alan.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got Alan. Like, there's some really cool characters whom we had who have had a queer awakening, which has been great,
Yeah.
and I love that. But in the end, like it was good because then I would have tried to do a romance on top of everything else I was trying to do, and we wouldn't have time. Like I barely had time to get in the friendship between her and Galaxy. I couldn't have also had a romance with her and someone else.
And if you want to learn about all the queer characters, you should pick up. There's this little book called DC Book of Pride.
Yeah,
You should definitely pick up to learn about
It's a
the canon
great-
quear characters.
it's a great
It is a
book for
great
that.
book. Who wrote that?
Oh, that was me. That
Oh,
was
that was
me
you?
who wrote
Oh,
that.
what a
I
coincidence!
know.
I think
but
it's cute that
she's-
DC thinks she's straight. I'm gonna let them
Right.
think that.
Well,
Right.
But
She
I know
just
they're
presents
wrong.
butchy. That's all. It's okay.
I just
Yeah.
know.
here's the thing: there are straight girls who present that way,
They
and like
do. Yeah.
my wife works with them a lot because she works for nature nonprofits.
Oh
So,
yeah.
like, there's
Those
all
girls
these
are very
nature
butchy.
women who like go out there and lift logs and like do all sorts of stuff, and they're like large and muscular and powerful, and they like wear boots all the time and
And
have
drink you under the table.
they
And...
drink under the table and have haircuts where they don't have to worry about hair coming into their face, and they read as butch lesbians, but they are straight. And they're like, yeah, I'm
It's
gonna go home and
2024.
suck a dick.
I guess
And
for
it's-
me, I think we've talked about this in the past, me, you, and Chris, of like it's the entire queer friend group around her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like
Yes.
we're like, oh, she's like the token straight. And I do find that
Right.
funny. But then
Yeah.
Chris is very much like, I was that person.
I was
and
the
like,
token straight.
You're
Sure.
never the token straight. You end up realizing you're gay. And so-
Well, I mean that could be. Who knows what
Yeah.
the future holds for Kendra?
Right.
But
It's just my
it's something
reading.
that I've noticed again with my straight friends is that when they've been through something tumultuous, like a death of a family member or a breakup that's
Mhm.
for a very long relationship, what they do is then seek out their girlfriends. And then, like, especially I've noticed, I don't know if this is true in other circles, but I've noticed that they come to their queer
Yeah,
girlfriends
they do.
because they're like, I need to be sure there's going to be no male energy right now.
Yes!
This time in my life.
That's so
I need to
real.
go find my queer girlfriends so that we can be women together and I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about a boyfriend or a husband or anything else harshing
That's
that vibe.
So real.
And so I was like, well, that's what's going to happen with Kendra. And I was like, oh, right, she doesn't have any friends. So let's give her some friends. Well, and it's one of
Yeah.
those things of like making the subtext text is right
Mhm.
because she's been a supporting character and like part of the Justice League for so long and like never because she's part of the ensemble, we've never seen her personal life
Yeah.
in the way that we've seen other characters because they have other books that delve into that. Like we
Yeah.
know what happens to Wally West when he goes home. We know what happens to Batman when he's not part of the Justice League. We don't know what happens to Kendra. And I decided it was like, nothing happens. She doesn't have friends outside the Justice League. She's made this job her life.
Oh,
And
relatable.
like, yeah. And so since she didn't have any friends in the past, I was like, I'm gonna bring in a character I'll just make up who's an old college buddy. We're gonna have Galaxy in there who'll be a superhero buddy, and that like give her this kind of like girl group
Yeah.
friendship that she needs in this time of crisis.
I love it. Once again, proving that the gayest thing of all is depression.
Indeed. Look, I would be open. I think, for me personally, I do think that Kendra having a bi awakening fits with everything that she's been through, especially considering that there was a whole bit in the Jeff Johns series where she was having trouble finding men to date because she had been with Carter Hall, who is like this giant alpha male of a dude, and like other guys did not compare.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, then maybe she might experiment on the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Really?
There's
Yeah,
time.
and that
There's
I feel like
time.
that makes sense to me. But again, like it's DC Comics' call. They have said that she's straight, and I agree with that. She's straight.
There you go.
And you know what? They let you make this book as gay as possible.
They really
without
did.
doing that.
They did.
So
like
gay.
it was a very gay book because once
It was so
Galaxy is
gay.
in there, well, and I mean this is part of me, right? Because like I wrote the DC Book of Pride, which we thought of,
Yes.
and it radicalized me in a serious way, which was like these characters so often are supporting characters, and we don't see their lives. We see that in bit and pieces, right? Because like the leads get to go on and do things that are cool and amazing and dramatic, and then you check in on the supporting character who's like, yeah, remember that girl we met at a convenience store 3 issues ago? Well, now we've moved in and have cats. And,
love it.
right? And it's like, that's wonderful. But what happened in between? Like, we didn't see any of the courtship. We didn't see the relationship.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, if Galaxy is going to be a supporting character in Hawkgirl's book, then we need to make the queerness visible.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to hide it. I don't want it to be
Yes.
something that's happening before. I want to bring Kat in, and I want them to have their relationship, especially because the whole point of that relationship and having it there is to show Kendra what she doesn't have, which is like she sacrificed having a personal life in order to be the best superhero she could be. And it's like, and Galaxy, the other way, decided not to be a superhero for a while. And decided to just have a personal life. And so
we love it.
Having these two separate perspectives on how to live and like realizing that the best way is in the middle, to show that these two, like Galaxy helps Kendra be more of a person while Kendra helps Galaxy be more of a hero. And so we had to, but we had to show then Galaxy and Kat being romantic and sweet together, and like to show that that is what having this kind of partnership gives you, and the strength that that gives you, and the power that it gives you to know that you have this person who loves you so wholly and completely. So we couldn't put it in the background. We had to foreground it because it had to be there, and it had to be there for Kendra to see and realize that it wasn't something she had.
Let me ask, her friend, I forget their name. What's Kendra's friend? Aveline. Like, they definitely want to get with Kendra.
Yes.
Like, was that ever like a serious, like, oh, this could, because I was reading it like, I kind of ship it. Like, I want to see them get together by the end.
I mean, I would
But
love to
obviously
see them get together.
That was never on the table, apparently. But like,
I mean,
so what was your point of including
it was part of the original, can we make Kendra bi? And it was told no, but it was like, I liked having a character who had recently come into their queer identity because it fit Kendra like coming into this new identity where she doesn't have a Justice League to define herself.
There you go.
So
and
it's
maybe
like
they
for
can get
someone
together
to be,
in the future.
yeah, for someone to be like, oh, I'm not a straight person who has a family. I need to get a divorce and start over.
Yeah.
Mirrored what Kendra is going through when her family is like, oh yeah, the Justice League's disbanded. We're not doing this anymore. And she's like, wait, I don't have anything else.
Yeah.
I love
and
that.
like, so to have that happen to her and have that mirrored by a coming out story, I thought it was still effective, even if Kendra was not the one coming out.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's giving 2000s Runaways with like Nico and Carolina, and Nico ended up coming out like 20 years later.
Right.
I was like, oh yeah, I do return your feelings. I even get
well, and I
that's
also love the trope
happen.
of the normal person pining after a superhero.
Oh,
I love that.
Classic.
I love that. And like we have a normal person pining after a superhero, Galaxy, who gets it, right? She's like, I got my superhero. And so to have someone who's like in that same boat, but it's not reciprocated, is a nice element of drama that I liked.
We love to see it.
Nice.
All right,
Mark, I'm done harassing you.
Mark, hit us with that next question.
All right, this biggie here. Let's talk writing Batman.
Oh
Talk us
yeah.
through everything about that. We need to know everything.
Dream come true.
Everything.
Dream come true. It was just as fun as I'd hoped it was going to be. It was absolutely delightful. I really wanted to include Batman because one of the things I loved from the Walt Simonson run of Hawkgirl was that he created this relationship between Kendra and Batman as a peer, which was not something that had existed before, and not something like the ways the other characters were treating her. Like, she was still kind of seen as a young hero, basically a sidekick. And there's a certain, not demeaning, but like looking down in the way they talked to her in that era. And Batman had none of that. He was like, you're a hero, you're a peer, I respect you. And like, he rarely does that to anybody. So to have him do it to Hawkgirl like means a lot, right? Like that's cool. And so I wanted to keep that in. So it's like, we need to, if this is a guidebook for like Kendra Saunders for the future, then we need to have like a strong Batman connection, because that's a really cool thing that a previous writer had done, and I want to keep it going. So, and like, DC is never going to say, no, you can't have Batman in a thing. That means that it'll sell better. Yeah. But it was nice to have like an organic reason to put him in there, to have these characters who have a history, and to show that he is someone that she turns to when she can't turn to anyone else. Even though the Justice League isn't there anymore. She still calls him up on the headset. And like, and he listens to her, like he doesn't just blow her off. And I think that's important. So that was a lot of fun. And it was a lot of fun then to write essentially a Batman story starring Hawkgirl in issue 3, where we like have that sort of like first person narration you see in Batman stories a lot, and have like all the Gothic tropes, like all of these, you know, graveyards and broken churches and like all of this stuff that's like feels very Gotham-y to me, and to have this noir mystery of like, here are the clues, but what does it mean, kind of thing. And it's like, to have all those Batman elements, and to have a Batman too who's like okay with working with people, because I feel like that's my Batman, is the one who's like, I have no problem teaming up with people as long as they're competent.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's fine. I go to the Justice League all the time. I can team up with people.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I have a whole army of sidekicks that I've adopted, and they're all very good at what they do, and that's why I keep them around. And like,
I love it.
Yeah, so to have that, and to also have him like be there for Galaxy in a moment where she is still questioning whether she's a superhero at all. And to like, she has this fight that's like maybe too intense, honestly. Like, talons are hard.
Yeah.
And so it's one thing to be like, yeah, we're gonna fight supervillains together, and then you fight supervillains and like, wait, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And have Batman say, no, it is. You're fine.
You got this.
Was there a really nice moment. And like, I loved the way Aman K illustrated that with like the huge swooping Batman, and then right before that, the little panels to get Galaxy's like nervous talking in there. Another thing she hasn't grown out of.
And I hope she never does. I love it.
And she hopes she never does. Yeah, so to have all that stuff, I mean, when I was thinking about possible villains for this series, I went through all the animals that are not really predators for hawks, because hawks are alpha predators, but the ones who compete for resources, right? Like, who's the ones eating the rodents that the hawks are going for? And one of them is owls. So it's like, we gotta have a court of owls go in there. You have to have a court of owls stuff. And like, I feel like the court of owls should be a recurring villain in Hawkgirl's future. And I have plans for that if they let me. But we had to like seed it here, right? Like, we had to start.
Yeah.
So brought the court of owls in, brought the talons in, but still tied it to the larger story by having Vulpecula there. And then having like these classic Batman moments that I wanted, which was like, let's meet in the Batcave and talk about clues. And
we get Alicia.
Right, we get Alicia Yo. We get to see Alicia Yo again, which is like wonderful, and have her just be, you know, the coolest person alive again is great. We got to see Bruce Wayne being his Bruce Wayne thing, which is, even though he doesn't have the fortune that he used to, people are still
Yeah.
wanting his like rich guy credentials to give
Yeah.
himself more value. And so
God.
all of the stuff that I've always wanted to do with Batman, I got to do, and like it was just a blast. And I got the best note I've ever received, which is my editor who said, and I quote, "Your Batman is perfect."
Yay! I agree.
Aw.
I
Well,
got
I
no
remember.
notes on my Batman presentation on
As a
that
bad
issue.
obsessive, I
Again, can
agree.
you, another
Aw.
thing, you're like getting this remote. This is my life.
For real.
Christopher Morris, who introduced us. I can't remember if I ever said this on recording, but Chris, when he introduced or was just telling us about you, was like, "Oh, I have this
Mhm.
friend Jadzia. You should reach out to her. She has a graphic novel coming out in a couple years." I remember he
Remember
said,
that?
"I know she's gonna write Batman one day,"
Yes. Yes,
and
he did.
so it's so cool that it happened. That's
It
so
It
sure did.
happened.
It's
amazing.
perfect. Oh my
Um,
God. So I adore all of the lore, all the mythology. What was it like to kind of dive into this myth-rich content, and how did you go about working it into the themes of the story?
Oh, it was delightful because I love all that stuff. Um, and it was like a very conscious effort to separate it from the previous Hawkman series that had just happened a few years ago. That was very sci-fi, and like they were going to alien worlds and like
Mhm.
um in a spaceship, and there was like science explanations for things, but like comic book science, so it doesn't quite make sense. But all of this sci-fi stuff in the previous Hawkman series, and I was like, let's separate from that. Let's because we could do sci-fi with this. Like Kendra's been to space. Galaxy is an alien. We could do some sci-fi stuff, but let's not. Let's do something completely different. Let's have a more folklore, mythological idea. Because part of what the impetus of this story was thinking, what does Kendra bring to the Justice League or any team that she's a part of? Like, what is her kind of ballywick that's like, this is why she's on the team? Because like if you have a mystery, well, that's why we got Batman there. If there's a space problem, well, we got Superman and Green Lantern, we're good. If it's a science thing, well, that's what the Flash is for. And I was like, what does Hawkgirl bring? And so looking at her kind of design and her history, and I was like, oh, she wears a helmet, she uses a medieval weapon, she's a knight. She fights monsters. That's her thing. And so it's like, let's give her some monsters then. And let's bring in that mythology that comes with being a knight. Let's bring in those folklore and that stories and create a whole little separate world where she can bring those monsters and that mythology from. So bringing those folk tales and those legends and that sort of like that fantasy element, but not like a I was going to say not like a Tolkien thing, but it is like a Tolkien thing, so I'm going to let that
Yeah.
slide.
Yeah.
And to bring that sort of energy to a superhero without losing the superhero aspect was great for me because we've talked about this, I'm sure. I don't know if we've talked to it on the podcast, but we've talked about it in general because I won't shut up about it, which is the like superheroes are modern folk tales, and like
Yes.
there's a folktale resonance to these characters that people who have not read a comic, who have not seen a movie, who have not watched a television show still know who Superman is. Like
Mhm.
there's a element of like cultural osmosis of like knowing these stories without having access to the text or in some cases any text, and like just know them from other people talking about them and knowing about them. So there's a certain so there's this folklore element to superheroes in general, and like getting a superhero assignment was like, all right, I'm gonna show you guys what I mean when I say that superheroes and folktales are the same. And so to bring that folktale element, to have a character who is steeped in folklore, who whose abilities are to kind of to redefine who you are as a child, which is like a wild and creepy thing, and to have which feels like a very folklore thing. Because like so many folk tales are about children making the wrong choice. Because that's what we worry about, and that's why we tell these folk tales so our kids make the right ones.
Right.
And so to bring that element in there, and it fits so well with Kendra, who is a knight, who has this sort of pseudo mysticism in her history with all of these past lives. And it just was one of those things that really gelled well. And like the more I wrote it, the more it became like, well, of course, I couldn't have done this another way. This is just perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I have to ask about Bad Dream, A Dreamer's Story,
Yes.
Sure.
by Nicole Maines
I
and
did
Rye
not write that.
Hickman.
Yeah, that's
No,
Nicole and
but
Rice thing.
Galaxy appears in it. As of recording this, it hasn't come out quite yet. It comes out in a few days. But
Yes.
being a librarian, I got an early copy. I
Oh.
know, I'm like, aren't I cool?
Oh my God.
Um,
Look at
but I got to
you.
read it early and I was really excited. I binge read it in like one night and then I was texting Jadzia because there's some really good Galaxy content. She's in it way more than I thought she was gonna be. It was
Yeah.
amazing. So I'm just wondering, like, what was it like reading something with Galaxy that you did not write?
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Oh.
Oh,
And I'm very fortunate in
your
that
child.
Nicole Maines is such a brilliant writer. Um, and Rye Hickman is a brilliant illustrator. So she was
Yes.
in
We love
good
Rye.
hands. Yeah, Rye's amazing. She was in great hands. One of the things that makes Nicole such a great actress is her understanding of character, and she brings that to her writing. So like I was reading the script when it was sent over to me and be like, does everything sound okay? And I was like, yeah, everybody sounds perfect. Like
Mm.
she nailed it. Um, there was like a pop culture joke that was like, I don't think our girl, who is an alien and was her time on Earth was spent in a area where technology is kept low, would make this particular pop culture reference, but give that to Kat because she would know that. Um, and it would because it's still a great joke, and that was like the only note I think.
That's
But
incredible.
it was terrifying, and I was like worried about it. But then I read it, and she did such a great job. And like Nicole and I would text back and forth. We still do, but definitely during her writing about it. Um, yeah, we have plans. We have plans.
Oh, I know. I
Yeah.
love your friendship. When
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
you
been
posted
really
selfies together, I
great.
was like, oh my God, they're hanging out. It's
Right.
so
Yeah,
cute.
I went to LA because Galaxy was up for a GLAAD award. And I was
Yes.
like, when
Hmm.
is the next time this is gonna happen? I need to
Yep.
go. And then next year Hawkgirl got up for a GLAAD award. So like
Look at that.
clearly more than once.
Yes.
But I did go and that was wonderful. And then since I was in Los Angeles, I got to hang out with Nicole, and it was
That's amazing.
wonderful because it was like we had been friends forever, like the
Oh.
instant kinship, and to talk with her about her ideas for future stories, talk with her about my ideas for future stories, and where our respective characters um, where their friendship is and goes, and all of this stuff is just delightful. And like, yeah, so
And it's so not weird, but like, and I don't even know if it's a coincidence that you're both writing a trans character who is having YA graphic novels come out, but then also appearing in the DC comics
isn't that
as
fun?
adults.
It's
It's
so
like
great.
they're both happening at the
It's
same
so
time.
incredible.
I'm
Yeah.
like the fact that it was happening once, but twice at the same time, love it.
Yeah, and for them to be friends, I think one of the things that um these happens with these stories is like you have a trans character and they're alone,
Hmm.
right? And like that's definitely a story that needs to be told. It's a story I just told with Galaxy the Prettiest Star, where
Right.
they're the only one like that and no one seems to understand. And that's a that's a story worth telling, but also like it's nice to have Bad Dream. But the nice
Yes.
Do
thing
it.
about have her in Bad Dream and be like, here she is another trans alien that
Yeah.
Nia can relate to. Like she thought she was the only one. And like, no, there's another one. There's a larger community. And I loved that element of Nicole's book where it was like, not only is she coming out of this smaller community that's very insular, but also coming
Mhm.
into a larger queer community that is so welcoming. And to have Galaxy be a part of that larger queer community and have that friendship be founded, and to compare and contrast the way that these two have very different um, ideas about being a superhero, even at this young age, is really cool. And
Yeah.
it was really great to read it and to see the way Rye draws these characters. It was really great to see the way Nicole wrote these characters and to have it be so perfect. Like I'm spoiled now.
It
If
was
someone else writes
good.
Galaxy, it's gonna be like, well, it's not as good as the way Nicole did it. So.
I love
um,
that.
without spoiling anything, because there is a really good twist in the book, I thought, and with Galaxy and Nia, and in terms of how they related.
Mm-hmm.
Without giving that away, whose idea was it to incorporate
Oh,
that?
to bring, yeah.
You know what I
Well, yeah,
mean?
because they have a history that they don't aren't
Yes.
aware of. That was Nicole
That
who
was
Ooh.
brought that
so
in.
good.
Yeah, and it was so great. And I was like,
Okay.
I love this. I love this. And like that's going to be something that I'm going to bring into future Galaxy stories. So like it's such a great idea.
Mhm.
It just seemed so perfect to have that. And because we were
It's a good
talking about
tease.
it, because like they're both aliens, is like how do their cultures relate? Like what is Ciandy like? What is Naltar
Mhm.
like? And this decision, we should just talk about it because
Go for it. Does anyone care if we spoil
Okay,
this?
no, we won't. We'll
spoiler
save
in
it.
wait, are you gonna save it or are you gonna spoil it? What are you
We'll,
gonna do?
oh, man, I don't know.
How about we do it at the very end so people can
Right.
stop listening if they need to?
No, we won't talk about it. We'll talk
Okay,
about it
okay, okay.
off
Go
Okay.
pick
mic.
up the book, buy it, and read it.
Go
and you'll
pick up the
find
book and
out.
buy it because it's a really
Yeah.
nice way to show that these two characters who have very different histories still have a connection. And it was
Yeah.
Mhm.
really cool and like fits
Yes.
the larger themes of Nicole's book. Um, and so to have them tied together like that is really nice. And it makes a really strong grounding for their friendship. Um, which is cool. I want us to do something with them as adults. We haven't had a chance yet
Mhm.
Yes.
That would be
because Nia's
amazing.
been doing stuff with like Amanda Waller, and that kind of walls her off from everybody
Walls.
else. Yeah, because she's
That
doing
Wallers her
wallers her
off.
off.
she's doing secret Black Ops stuff, right? So you can't like have Galaxy just pop in and be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
is this a crime? What are you
Wait,
doing?"
what's going on? What are we doing
Right?
here?
A Pride anthology story where they team up.
Yeah.
Come
Oh, that would be
on.
so sweet.
I've brought it up several times.
And they did
What?
a team up book like last year.
Yeah, see, we missed the window. I would love to do, and Nicole and I have talked about writing this together, and I would love to do a thing where they do like a space adventure
Oh my
together
God,
and
that'd be
like
so good.
have some fun in
Yes.
space and get weird in space with all the weird space DC stuff.
Ah!
Like I would love to do that.
Do you like
I'd also
Space
love,
Road Trip?
yeah, or to have them go to the future and meet up with the Legion of
Um,
Superheroes, and then like to have Dreamer meet up with Dream Girl
Oh
and
my God.
have Galaxy find out why there's no Ciandy as part of the Legion and like all of this stuff. Like there's so much ripe storytelling in that that I
We're
would love
so
to bring in. So there's options. Hopefully we'll get to tell those
that
stories.
sounds amazing. Oh my God.
Yay. And then I just had to ask about A Town because
Yeah.
pretty sure
Yes.
you created that as like
I
a kind of
created
the
A
throwaway
Town.
reference, right?
So
I
cool.
didn't
And
realize
okay.
it was going to take off, and that I love that it
Yeah,
has.
so again, to get you to pick up Bad Dream, A Town, which was like a throwaway mention in Galaxy of the Prettiest Star, is like
Mhm.
the one of the main settings of Bad Dream, and
Yeah.
it's super gay, and
Yes.
it's amazing.
It's
So
funny
like,
because like A Town's shown up a bunch. It's shown up in Action Comics.
okay,
As well, and like it's shown up in Hawkgirl, and it is fun to see Nicole's A Town, which is like the gay part of A Town.
Yes.
yes,
And then to see like the A Town that shows up in Action Comics, which is clearly the straight part of A Town.
Yes.
But to have this queer community of aliens and to have this wonderful visual representation of multiple identities at once is really great. And I love that Nicole ran with that and brought that in. And yeah, to see that realized is so much fun.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I've
Oh,
changed the shape of Metropolis. Not only did I put a gay club in there, but also there was a whole neighborhood that didn't exist before.
We love to see it.
Love it. All right. Where did you draw our inspiration for that? And please forgive me if I'm butchering the name. Is it Vulpecula? Is that the way?
Vulpecula.
Okay, Vulpecula character. I
Mhm.
love the name that it means little fox in Latin, which is
Yeah.
part of this whole story, like from the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, again, like I said, I went through a list of all the animals that compete with hawks for resources. And
Oh.
like one of them was foxes. And I was like, great. I know there's other DC Fox characters. Maybe I can pull one in. And none of them had like the spark I was looking for. And some of them were dead. And I was like, I don't know if it's worth reviving a character for this thing. Maybe we should just make someone new.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, and I found the constellation Vulpecula, which is Little
Yes.
Fox.
Mhm.
And like this is perfect. Like named after a constellation, and to have this Fox character and to have her be someone who um wants to get back to where she was.
Mhm.
And the idea to have these three characters, right? They all have different perspectives as far as change. And
Mhm.
Vulpecula is like, I have changed enough and I'm tired of it and it didn't work. And now I want to go back to where I was happy. And
Yeah.
then you have Galaxy who's like change is constant and we just got to keep moving forward and that's all we can do. And then you have Kendra who's like had a major change and doesn't know how to react to it. And so
Mhm.
she's being pulled in these two separate directions by two people who have very different ideas of how to move forward.
Yeah.
And so um that was kind of the crystallization of her character and where she fit in the plot. And then to have her ability be someone who can go back into your life and give you something. And when you're at your most vulnerable, when you're a child, that completely changes who you are as an adult and really underlined the theme of the series, which is like um, the decisions we make do change us and there's ripples effects and like we have to respect that and we can't. And that doesn't mean that we need to try to make that not happen, but we need to acknowledge that who time changes us was essentially the big theme of
Mhm.
the series, and who Kendra is at the beginning and who the Kendra is at the beginning of her superhero career is very different than who she is at the end.
And sometimes you get gayer over time too.
Sometimes
Sometimes you just
that's
get.
that's a
happens.
reality.
It
So
happens.
yeah, to have a character who's like to underline how time changes you by like going back into people's past and then
Yeah.
changing things and then having these people be completely different than who they were.
Mhm.
You are queen of a theme, Jadzia. I
I
just
love a
love it.
theme.
Oh, you're so good at it.
Someone told me, an editor told me that I was a puzzle box writer, and I don't think of myself as one.
Oh,
But
that
then he
makes
was
sense.
like, yeah, all your things connect and click together, and like it's all one piece. And if you pull one piece out, then like everything falls apart. It all has to go together in this one way.
That's
Because
so
you like pile
interesting.
themes on themes on themes on themes. And I was like,
It is themes all the way down.
yeah, it is. Like everything connects. Everything connects. Like that's the fun of writing to
Yeah,
me is like making sure everything connects and
I love
bringing
it.
these themes together. So, yeah, so we had this like contrary point of view. We
Mhm.
had this power set, and it was really important for me to not have a villain whom Kendrick could just wail on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I wanted her to have like a Joker figure who
Yes.
is like, you can punch her in the face, but that's not gonna stop what she's doing.
You can't
Yeah.
punch all your problems,
Right. Like that was the
unfortunately.
thing. That was the thing is like, some problems you can solve by hitting because this is a superhero comic, but not all of them.
Yes. Well, obviously you came up with the best possible villain. But what about the next best possible villain? What are some rejected potential villains that could have been facing Galaxy and Kendra?
I mean, like I have a whole set of like potential villain. Like we see a teaser in the last issue of like some villains that they are hopefully going to meet in the future if I get to do
Ooh.
more Hawkgirl stories. It was really interesting because I was told not to use old Hawkgirl villains.
Yeah.
Which was one easy because she doesn't really have specific to her villains,
Yeah.
but that also meant like no Hawkman villains.
Mm.
Um, so that was a wash. But it would have been fun to like bring out some of those weird old villains and to have them dance around in a modern context would have been really cool. Um,
Yeah.
like I don't know if I'll ever use it, but I do have a great take for how to bring the monocle in a nice modern way. But
I love that.
um, we'll see if that happens. But um, yeah, So rejected villains were ones that were rejected before I even got started, which was no previous ones. Everything had to be new, and that's how I like to work anyway, which is making up new toys. So I was happy to do that.
Oh, I love it.
Huh. All right, so the story ends with Hawkgirl becoming a knight, and
Yes.
where would you like to see that take the character next?
Oh my gosh.
Without
Well,
spoiling too much, right?
she's not just a knight, right? She's a knight of the ninth world, and like
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
that has a very specific connection. And part of that was like, I wanted something that in a little caption box, if we see Hawkgirl again in a team thing where it like has a little thing like, you know,
Yeah, and it's
I
something
world's
of their
greatest
own, right?
detective, Man of
Yeah.
Steel,
Yeah.
Knight of the Ninth World, and like tells you all the things you need to know of who she is and what she does,
I love that.
and gives her like this whole rogues gallery of monsters to come from. So I want her to like, I it's so weird to talk about this without like just vomiting up all the future stories that I want to tell. But suffice to say, in the end of Hawkgirl #6, which everyone listening has read, excuse me, Hawkgirl #5, there is a very specific interaction between her and Vulpecula, which is that a more distraught Kendra than the modern era, like one just a few months ago, comic book time. Kendra, in a very depressed state, says like, I want to be part of something bigger than myself. And then later, we see Kendra being a knight of the ninth world, and then in the service of this much larger fantasy dimension, and what that means. And so how much of her is a part of the ninth world moving forward, especially considering that she sacrificed all of her past lives so that the ninth world could stay together, is definitely something worth exploring. And her connection to that world now is definitely something that is going to bleed into her life in the regular world. So I'd love to see more with that. We also have never revealed how Kendra came back to life in
That's true.
in DC Metal. And like I have ideas for that and how that is tied to the Ninth World too. But I did not have a chance to fit that into Hawkgirl,
Yes.
so that would be something I would like to reveal and dig into.
Oh my god.
But another thing, like again, stuff we haven't really tied into that is part of Kendra's character is like she has a daughter that she's not raising. Like who's growing up without her, and that was a very conscious choice that she made. And I don't have any judgment on that. I think that's a perfectly fine choice, especially considering where she was when she was pregnant.
Right.
But like, what's going on with her?
Yeah.
And that connection, and
Oh
what
my
does it
God.
mean that your biological mother, who is not the mother that raised you, but your biological mother, is now part of this larger ninth world? And like, how does that bleed into your life in ways that you never asked for and are not expecting? So there's a lot of stuff that we could dig into if I got, say, a Hawkgirl ongoing. I have plans. And then this is the character with a lot of history, and I've had a lot of fun digging into that history. And so I would like to continue to do that. And at the same time, bring in the fantasy world that I created to serve as the vehicle for all of that exploration and
love it.
stuff.
Oh my god. Well, equally serious question for you now,
Yeah.
obviously. If you were to do a Super Friends story with all the characters from Hawkgirl, what would their pets be?
Well, all right.
Hawk.
Easily. Galaxy is Argus. There we go.
Obviously.
So that's an easy one.
goodness.
Yeah. The fact that Hawkgirl doesn't have a hawk is a little weird.
Absurd, right? Like that's
Yeah. Like she should have a kestrel. That is her best friend.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That needs to happen. Put that in the
Well,
ongoing.
Again, only had 6 issues with 20 pages
Right.
each. There was
I'm just
not
saying,
time
when
to
you get
bring
the
in a pet
ongoing,
bird.
you gotta
Yeah.
bring in a pet bird.
Yeah, have Ace the Bat Hound in there for sure,
Yes,
because
which was great.
Batman counts. Does Abilene have a pet? Abilene does not have a pet. So we should give them one, maybe a fish.
Yeah.
Um
A fish?
yeah, a little
I love
goldfish.
that. I love that.
How are they gonna contribute? They have like a orb
have a
of
little
water they
mecha.
fly around in,
With a fish
like
or
Baby Yoda. A mecha.
Yeah, like a fishbowl where the head is.
Yeah,
That's
fun.
so
And-
perfect.
And then a little like suit of armor.
Somebody
It's
draw
like
the fan art.
Megamind.
Draw the fan art for that, and the fish's
Please.
fins are like holding on to a little control. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
somebody fan art it, please.
Love that.
Who are we missing? Who still needs the pet? Anybody?
Cat.
I think that's
Cat. Who's
Cat.
Cat's pet?
well, I mean, Argus is kind of Cat's pet too.
You need a second pet
Alicia.
for Cat. And,
Oh,
yeah,
Alicia needs a little pet bat for
I
sure.
agree. Batgirl's pet bet.
Again, the fact that the Bat team does not have pet bats is weird.
Honestly, it's so weird. I guess they have a ton of pet bats because the whole cave is full of them, but you know.
Yeah,
they
but
need
it's
True.
not like a personality.
Yeah, they need a named one.
Right.
Damien
so
needs a
like
bat.
either
It's
pet bat or maybe
shocking.
like a nightingale, some sort of night bird. That would be cool too.
Mhm.
But I'd love a pet bat for Alicia. I think that fits.
It does fit.
Should we be silly and say that Cat has a cat? I think
I
so.
love the idea.
Gonna
of
say
having
that.
a
I was
cat.
like, why not? Right?
Yeah.
Cat's
So-
cat.
I'm right there, and I didn't
it
even
could be
think
a
about
hairless
it.
cat, or it could be
Yeah.
something different.
That's so fun.
Something tiger striped, have some Hobbs energy.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I
Oh,
love
what
that.
cute.
So yeah, that's the Hawkgirl Super Pets team.
There
I
you
love
go.
it.
There
Love
you
it.
go. So there's a good amount of Bowie references throughout the Galaxy graphic novel.
Yeah.
As a newbie
ton.
here, yeah, yes, right. It's like as I read on and on, I was like, whoa. And is that something that you tend to sprinkle here and there, or is it specific just to this graphic novel?
Well, Bowie is specific to Galaxy the Prettiest Star because when you write a character as a teenager, at least when I write a character as a teenager, I think, what was I into as a teenager? And one of the things I got seriously into as a teenager was David Bowie, specifically like 70s era David Bowie, which was not in any way current. I'm not that old. But it was like finding something from a previous generation. It was like that it was
Yeah.
really cool and relevant. And I really like that. So it was like, this fits the theme, again, the puzzle box. This fits the themes of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I got to
yeah.
put that in, and it all clicked together. As far as music and stuff, one of the things that I find really interesting is the mundane details of people's lives. Especially with superheroes where we don't often get those. So I want to put those in. So I want to put in like the music that they like. I want to put in where they live. I want to put in the food that they like. I didn't realize this, but in every issue, people are either eating or talking about food. Like there's
I
an
love that.
instance, which is not something that I planned, but like it's there.
Yeah.
Because
Honestly,
like
perfect.
that. Yeah. And like some of that was intentional in that I wanted to kind of like seed the eventual reveal that Kendra has Cuban ancestry. So we have her talking about Cuban food leading up to
I
it.
definitely assumed you were about to say the eventual reveal of the Metropolis dog, but yeah.
Well,
Yes!
that too.
Have you eaten
Right,
a
the
Metropolis dog in real life?
Right, that's another thing. Is like, why is there not Metropolis style food? And it's like me thinking about that. Like Metropolis style food is probably heavy. Like all of it is like weighty. Like it's a big city of strong people, so it's like heavy food. Like
Love it.
their pizza is not like a Chicago deep dish, but it's like piled with toppings. Like, and it's thick crust, and it's like it's a heavy pizza.
Yeah.
All right.
See
And
it.
but they're not known for pizza. They're known for like something like a hot dog, right? Superman's always eating hot dogs in the old comics. So it's
Yeah.
like they're known for hot dogs. What's a Metropolis style hot dog? And it's like something that's heavy.
Love it. I love it.
Have you made one? Did you like
Yeah,
you
I've
ate
made them a
one?
couple times. They're great.
You
We
should
need
make
to.
me one.
I would love to make you one.
Yay.
Come over for a cookout. We'll make some Metropolis dogs.
Yes.
They're really delicious. A lot of people were like, "That looks disgusting," and I was like, "It's supposed to, because it's regional food." And I don't know if you know anything about regional food,
Always looks
especially
disgusting.
Midwest regional food. And I like to think of Metropolis as a Midwest city.
Mm.
It like a Chicago. It feels very. It doesn't feel East Coast in the same way that Gotham does.
Yeah.
And like obviously Coast City is on the coast. So
What? Remind me, what's on the
Right.
Metropolis dog?
All right, so Metropolis dog is chili, French fries,
Ooh.
canned peaches, and
Ooh.
red cabbage sauerkraut. And then some areas will do a fried egg and draw a little Superman S and ketchup.
I
And
love that.
Nice.
Okay, I would try that.
I
That
would
sounds
too.
pretty
Great.
good.
It's
A
the
lot of people
peaches that
balk at
throw
the
me.
peaches.
Yes.
But
For me, it's cabbage.
I love that. I want cabbage.
TJ hates a vegetable, and
I
that's
I
the
like
peaches
I'll
add
try
a
that.
sweetness, which is not a bad thing in a hot dog. A lot of people like sweet relish with their hot dogs, and to have that sweet, savory, salty combo is really nice because there's the chili and the French fries and the sauerkraut. Like the peaches are just a compliment rather than an overwhelming thing. There's so much going on in that
Okay,
hot
had
dog.
you eaten one of these before you made this hot dog, or did you
No, I
like
came up with it first.
and then made it
And then I
yourself
made
to see
it
if
to
it
make
was
sure it
good?
was still good. Yeah, because I
Love
wanted something
it.
I love
colorful. That's the other reason for the peaches. Like it had to be primary colors. So
Yeah.
like we had to have a bright yellow thing.
Ah.
We had to have the bright red thing, which is why it's
I
red
love that.
cabbage sauerkraut as opposed to white. And like I couldn't figure out a blue thing that wasn't actually disgusting because like
fair.
so I left that out. So it's just red and yellow, but like still, it's got that primary Superman town thing. The fried egg makes it hard to eat, but again, it's regional food. It should be hard to eat.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
and
that's our
like-
next date.
Yeah, you should come over for a cookout. I'll make them for you.
By
But
the
to
way,
bring it back, right? Like that,
Yeah.
those kind of details and the music people listen to is a part of that for me. Like that's why Galaxy gets really excited that a Muna song is playing in the gay club.
I love
yes. Yeah.
it. Oh, so good.
Yeah, and like you know, and I was listening to the Boy Genius record that came out when I was
Of
writing
course you
Hawkgirl.
were. That's so
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Obviously.
Well, it came out right when I was writing it. I was like, this is so great because again, it has a lot of the themes of Hawkgirl, and like I
Yeah.
didn't talk to those girls about what to write, but they knew it was what I needed, so that was very nice.
The comic definitely gives Phoebe Bridgers nothing new
Right?
energy.
Yeah.
For sure.
No.
Ugh,
Phoebe Bridgers and Hawkgirl have a lot to talk about.
I'm sure they do. The crossover we all need.
So yeah, and I referenced one of their lines, "Always an angel, never a god," which is like the whole
Yes.
theme of Hawkgirl, not just this miniseries, but her history.
Mm.
Yeah.
Of like always being someone who helps and is servient and like wants to be greater than she is, but is kept from doing that for various reasons, including herself. And so like, well, I have to put that line in, and there was going to be a whole scene where like Galaxy introduces
Yeah.
Hawkgirl to Boy Genius, but like things, you know, there's just not time for that kind of
That's cute.
stuff.
Again, the ongoing. You'll give her
Right.
that and the Boy Genius phase.
Right,
know.
but know that Galaxy gave her a Boy Genius album to listen to at some point in between issue 1 and issue 6.
Oh my
And
god.
yeah.
I'm fully imagining Galaxy did a mix track like playlist.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yes. No, I really appreciated that. Just because I love music, and if anything, like I love the graphic novel, but it totally led me down the rabbit hole of listening to the whole Aladdin Sane album. Just know that, and it totally
wonderful.
made my day. So
Yes.
So good. Yeah, and then music is such an important thing with Galaxy as a character, and this is like not gone in any canonical way yet, but like because of her powers, she cannot interact with screens in the same way that everyone else does. There's too much information because she can see individual light waves and all that stuff. So it's like hard for her to use the screen. She like has a like an e-paper thing for when she needs to do computer stuff, but she
That's
doesn't
so cool.
use she doesn't use like a color screen. It's hard for her to watch movies. It's hard for her to watch television now
Does
that
she
her
have a
powers have
flip
activated.
phone? Importantly, is she?
She doesn't have a phone,
Oh, even better. No phone for Galaxy.
right?
She's untextable.
I thought that made her graphic novel feel kind of timeless.
Yeah.
That is, yeah, there you
That
go.
was the thing, which was like the double edge of that element, which was like it's a great place for aliens to hide out, but also it meant I could write about a teenagerhood that doesn't have cell phones, which mine didn't. So I don't know how things are different now. But anyway, music is like the one element of popular culture that Galaxy can really dig into. Because sound is not as overwhelming as vision. So she can listen to new albums and like devour them in the way that she always has. So
Is she
like
like Kim Petras?
I think she likes that Ken Petras exists. I don't think her style of music is like Galaxy's kind of
Okay.
thing.
I get that.
Who's her favorite like modern day artist?
Well, like she's really into Muna, as we said.
Okay. I
She
did not
loves-
know who that was. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you
They're
would like
there,
them.
TJ.
They're
Okay,
great.
I'm gonna look them up.
They're
Is she a Mitski girly? Be honest.
she is a Mitski girly.
I knew it. I knew
obviously.
it. She has the same taste as I do, is what I'm learning.
She loved the Cat Power album. That's the Bob Dylan songs.
Yes.
Like someone asked what were her favorite albums of the year, and I like made a list.
That's so cool.
Does she listen to Girl in Red?
Of course she listens to Girl in Red.
I'm sorry, she's not entirely straight then.
Okay, is this just
That's
your
Galaxy.
music
Oh, I'm sorry,
taste?
that's Galaxy. I thought Kendra for a second. Yes,
No.
Girl in Red is perfect. Yes.
Galaxy
these all
likes more
things you
music
like?
than I do. But we share a lot of the same bands.
I love it.
Gotcha.
I love it. Well,
But yeah, Kendra just listens to Metallica over and over again. That's
okay, that seems right. You're right.
Yeah,
Actually, she
totally
is straight.
straight.
I was gonna say that is pretty straight now that you've said that out loud. Well, that was very important, obviously, but a much more important question coming at you right now. Clearly, the most important question we could ask. We're all obsessed with Nightwing's ass, obviously.
sure.
If you could contribute a famous body part to the DC universe, what's your body part and who is it on?
I mean the serious answer to this is just generally trans representation. Obviously.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna take the halo off now. Having said that,
Galaxy's rack. Come on.
shoulders. I want and more than shoulders, like the clavicle shoulder connection.
So sexy. I love
If people are like, yeah, I love Jadzia Axelrod comics because there's always a clavicle shoulder connection.
Yeah.
Beauty
Ooh.
shot.
So
That
who
would be
is
cool.
who is the best clavicle in the DC?
Oh, well, Galaxy.
Perfect.
She's got those great shoulders. Like
She
that's
does have
something
great shoulders.
I tell every artist who draws her is like, be sure to give her big shoulders.
Yeah.
Like she has broad shoulders. The rest of her looks like just a standard girly superhero. Because she's still a fantasy, but like
Right.
she has these
Got
little
that
details
shoulders.
that signify her transness. She has Adam's apple in close-ups,
Yeah.
and she has broad shoulders, and like
Ugh,
part of
love.
that is because that's a trans signifier, but the other part is I think that's cool. I love a woman with broad shoulders. So
I feel like shoulders, like especially clavicle, that's like the female gaze for sure, right?
Yeah.
Like I love that. Oh, perfect. Well, excellent answer. So correct. You did not tell me who has the best rack in DC, which I was obviously aiming for.
Power Girl.
You're right. You know what? With her little titty window, we love to see it.
Yeah,
We
and
love
she
to
knows
see
it. That's why she has the titty window.
Honestly, Sydney Sweeney would make a good Power Girl. I'm
She'd
now.
be a great
Oh
Power
my
Girl.
god.
Wouldn't she, TJ?
She's a
Come
little
on.
young because I always think of Power
Sure.
Girl as a little older.
Sure.
But,
Maybe
like-
she could be young Power Girl. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She always has her tits out. I love that.
I'm just
for her.
saying it would be great
Yeah.
for Power Girl.
I would love. Who is the woman who played Supergirl in The Flash?
Melissa
Benoist.
Benoist.
I think. Yeah, she'd
Oh,
be
yeah,
a
yeah,
great
yeah.
Power Girl. I would
Yeah.
love to see that.
Oh, that would be cute.
That would be cute.
But
I
yeah,
like that.
Power Girl's the best track, and I would love to see an issue of a comic somewhere where because they're always trying to explain why she has a hole in her costume
Yeah.
to show off her cleavage, and I would love her to just say, "Yeah, they're great."
Yeah, I'm doing it because I love it.
I
Does
look
it-
great. These look great. I love showing them off because they're beautiful.
I also
That's the reason.
I feel like
Move.
they're really missing the most obvious reason. Obviously, if she fights a straight man, distraction, immediate distraction. All right, well, an equally serious question.
Yeah.
Who is your DC Comics Hear Me Out character, aka your weird crush?
I mean, you've heard me talk about Ma Hunkle,
I
and
knew
I'll
it was gonna be
continue to do
Mahako!
it.
I knew.
So, like,
Correct.
yeah, hear me out.
Mahako.
That is a woman who knows what she wants.
You're so right.
And not only that, she knows what you want and will give it to you.
Oh,
Oh yeah, she'll give it to you.
Yeah, she will.
we love to see it. We
Love
love
to
to see
see it.
it. Oh my
All
God, Mom.
right. So as we're wrapping up here, we wanted to ask, what recommendations do you have for people like me who now want to
Uh-huh.
dig deeper into the Kendra and Greater Hawk family
Oh,
books?
yeah, definitely pick up the early JSA stuff. The later you get into JSA, the less it's about Kendra. So like, don't if you run to a point where it's like, I'm not into this as much for the Kendra stuff, that's fine. But like, definitely the early JSA stuff is great. There's a storyline where the JSA fights the Injustice Gang that
Ooh.
goes on a little long, but like worth it. It's so good. And there's actually like a sly reference to that in Hawkgirl. Because like that's the scene where there's a scene where Hawkgirl suddenly remembers some of her past lives and it's literally explosive. Like it knocks another woman off of her. So if anyone's upset that I said that Kendra's past lives are represented by energy, that's Jeff Johns. Take it up with him. But like all of that stuff with her past lives being an energy that Galaxy can manipulate and that we perceive as these cool yellow energy hawks in issue 4, like that all comes from that JSA story. So definitely pick up some of the early Hawkman. Again, Jeff Johns wrote. That's 2002, I want to say. It hasn't aged as well as the JSA stuff has. The JSA stuff is really fun because a lot of the characters are like just hanging out. Like it's a hangout book in a way that you never see anymore because like
I love that.
I'm sure Jeff is like, yeah, I'm gonna get 50 issues of this, no problem. So we can take our time introducing storylines. But so even in stuff that's like, oh, it doesn't age very well, it's fun and has a different tone. Like there's stuff in the early Hawkman stuff that's like, that really hasn't aged very well.
Right.
But those early issues are where a lot of the characterization of Kendra comes from and like where her backstory is delved into. And so if you're interested in that character, that's definitely where to go. But just with the caveat that some things have aged better than others.
Yeah.
Right. And our final
I wouldn't,
question.
if you were looking for hot girl stuff, I wouldn't go to the Justice League stories. She's been in a couple Justice League incarnations. They're great stories, but they are Justice League stories. They are not Kendra stories.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And like, there's some nice stuff in Justice League that was under what was that writer? It just fell out of my head.
Wah, wah.
Brad Meltzer. There we go. I found it. There's some good stuff in the Brad Meltzer run that is trying to give her more of a characterization and trying to give her stuff. And he was never able to finish that. And then Dwayne McDuffie took over and he was like, I'm going to finish it and it's going to be good. And then for reasons beyond Dwayne McDuffie's control, that didn't work out. So like, it's very unsatisfying, but you know, worth a peek if you are curious. But if you're looking for like solid Kendra stuff, definitely early JSA, definitely early Hawkman.
I love it.
Yeah.
And our final question, Mark. Ooh.
Yes. So we have our article question for the repeat offenders. If you have to step in for James Gunn and take over the DCU, what's your plan?
Oh, well, number one with a bullet, Galaxy television show.
Yes!
Yes!
Animated Galaxy movie. Either one. We'll see which focus group tests better. But yeah, we get a trans actress in there, and she does something amazing. But like I'm not saying that Galaxy needs to be the centerpiece of a DC universe thing, but
However,
the
But
vein is right there, and like it's an excellent reason to bring the Justice League together if someone was looking for one.
Mhm.
Um, just saying. So that would be what I would do. I think, yeah, you got to do those like individual movies because that's what people want. Like we
Yeah.
want to see a Superman movie, we want to see a Batman movie, we want to see a Wonder Woman movie. Um, we want to see another Aquaman movie. Everyone loved Aquaman. I don't know
Yeah,
why,
absolutely.
and I don't know why that was a shock. Aquaman's cool.
Aquaman
Like
is cool.
the whole idea of like an undersea kingdom with
Yes,
monsters and stuff. Like that's
yes.
fun. We all love Black Manta. He's a weird dude. That guy's
He is a
great.
weird dude.
did you see
Like
Aquaman 2?
I have not, but I
Don't
want
bother.
to.
It's
Aw.
Oh,
I
I could
loved
tell by the way you
Aquaman.
were talking.
Yeah, I was like, wait, this is the voice of a woman who hasn't seen Aquaman 2.
I have not seen Aquaman
I
2.
loved
Don't see
Aquaman.
it.
Aquaman 2 is
man was
so
fun.
disappointing.
All right.
Yeah.
It's so
Well,
disappointing.
that's a shame. But
But when you take over, you can fix it.
the concept is what I'm saying
I
more
agree.
than
Mhm.
Yes.
anything else. And I think that there is a lot of potential for like the weirder aspects of the DC universe to really have some fun. And this is something I think James Gunn and I share.
Mhm.
And to like delve into those kind of strange ideas and like bring the weirdness and the fun into it.
Yeah.
Um,
Your Plastic Man's. I mean,
Plastic Man is great, but also like, Space Cabbie and
Yes.
Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld. Like that should be a television show, and that
Yeah.
would be a great one. Like there's a lot of potential and a lot of different genres that you could do just right off the bat and still bring these characters together in a larger connected Justice League story, which we also want to see.
Yes.
I wouldn't build to a Crisis. I know that's what everybody wants to do, is do Crisis on Infinite Earths. It is not a good story. As much as I love the George Perez art, it's not a story that holds together. It's a story that has a goal, and it does the goal, but is like, as a narrative, I don't know if it's like solid. But there's still a lot of stuff to pull from and to build from that I think would be really cool. If not doing Crisis, what storyline would I pick to like bring everything together? Invasion, probably, with the Gene Bomb, because then you then get a whole bunch of other superheroes after that.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That's good.
So
And those like Dominators with the teeth and all that. Like that's a great alien design. Like
yeah,
have those guys be bad guys.
I like
I
that.
have to ask, because this is super important. Who would you want? Who would you be your dream voice actor for Argus?
Oh, we've talked about this before. David Hyde Pierce.
Oh my
One with a
God.
Oh my
bullet.
god. That's awesome.
If he is not available
Yeah.
for whatever reason,
Yeah.
I will accept Brian David Gilbert as the voice for
Ooh.
Argus, which is kind of a dark horse choice, but it would definitely be cheaper than David Hyde Pierce.
Yes. Yes.
Fair.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
That's perfect. That is perfect. Oh my God, Jadzia, this was such a blast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Best interview yet. You get better every time.
Oh, wow. I have such great interviewees. How can I?
Aw.
Interviewers. I'm the interviewee. I have such great interviewers.
Were you interviewing us? Da, 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 da.
Who is being interviewed?
Twilight Zone. What would you like our listeners to look out for coming up? If you have anything you can say,
I don't have anything I can say.
Oh no,
which is
okay.
that, like there is stuff coming, so keep on that. Please go out and buy Nicole's book,
Yeah.
Bad Dream, because it's so good and you deserve good things in your life, listener.
Yeah.
So get that book. It's wonderful. And yeah, I have stuff that will be coming out at some point that I'll be
Right.
able to talk about, that if you liked Hawkgirl and you like Galaxy the Prettiest Star, you will love. But
Yeah.
I can't talk about it.
Fair enough. We obviously this will come out later, but we're recording it right around Trans Day of Visibility. So listeners, you should go get Galaxy. That's your
Yeah.
duty. Your solemn
Get it.
duty. And where can listeners find you if they want to keep up on the news for when you
I
announce
mean-
what's coming next?
Don't find me.
Never find Jadzia.
Planet X on the Twitters, Planet X on Instagram.
Are you on Threads yet?
I'm on Threads, but I'm not on Threads. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, I know. I hear what you're saying.
You're just wearing threads.
Are you
I
on the
just
blue-
have a thread with my name on it, and that
Are you
doesn't
on the
mean I
blue
use it.
sky?
I'm
Or
on the blue sky. Happy to see you on the blue sky.
Yeah,
The blisky.
the blisky.
The website, jadziaaxelrod.com.
Mhm.
And there's a newsletter that's going to be starting up again, and all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So you'll know. when
Are you one
things
of the
happen.
5 people still on Hive? Out of curiosity.
I
jeez.
mean, like, you know,
So
in the
am I,
same way
but-
that I'm on Threads, there's
I was gonna
probably
say.
a Planet X at Hive that I haven't checked forever.
For all
There-
5 people that are still there.
Right.
RIP
I
Hive.
think I have a Vero account too for similar.
Yeah.
And what's your
mean-
OnlyFans? No, I'm kidding.
I've thought about doing an OnlyFans that's just food porn. That's
I
just
love
these
that.
really.
Because your food porn photos are
Thank you.
well, on that note, thank you for coming. Thank you for everything and just being yourself.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is always so much fun.
I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah.
When you
Anytime.
cook for us.
Right. We're gonna have that pride cookout with Metropolis dogs.
Yes.
Woo, woo.
I need to find some red cabbage sauerkraut.
Yeah.
My supplier seems to have disappeared, so I will have to find a new, or just make some myself. We'll see.
Exactly. And on that note, listeners, we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to this episode of Gotham Outsiders. You can find me, Chris, at Linktree/The Myth of Psyche, where you can find all of my social media, where I'm on Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, and all the various places. You can also find all of my other projects where I'm writing and the other podcasts I host, including Thirsty on Tune, which I host with my friend Bronwyn, where we talk about independent projects like books and webtoons, and on the Talking Comics podcast, where I am also a host now. And where can they find you, TJ?
You can find me at TroyFin2 on most social media platforms like Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, a lot. You can find me talking a lot about books, gay things, gay books, and I am a librarian in my professional time and for fun sometimes. So please hit me up if you want a good book recommendation or you have one for me.
And where can our listeners find you, Mark?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at I am El Diablito, and also on Sunday evenings with the Broaxium crew. Show is called Shooting the Poodoo. We are on at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. EST.
And you can find us all on social media at Gotham Outsiders on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. So thank you for listening, and join us next time. Same bat time, same bat place.